What is up, Watch Fam? I am Christian, the curator of the Theo and Harris Watch Shop.
And I'm Anna. I do the content.
And today we're going to sit down and answer a bunch of watch-related questions, most specifically, and really big news this week, the Rolex scandal going on. The scandal that has put millions of dollars kind of in limbo in the vintage Rolex world. And no one knows if they should get returns or who has the money. How does a Rolex scandal on the pre-owned market get resolved? Yeah. So let's get into it. Boom, Watch Fam. All right, before we get into it, a quick wristwatch check. What are you wearing, Anna?
I am wearing my old lady.
So annoying. Hashtag liquor run coming back soon.
Hashtag Rolly. My pull router. This is my one watch, really, and I love it. It's on a Sark strap.
Yep.
Looking great. I'm gonna wear it all winter because that's what I do.
You also have a double Tor strap.
I do.
I try to wear that.
No, I do. I wore it like a month ago.
I
just work at the computer a lot, and it rubs, and I don't want it to rub.
I got Anna this
leather.
beautiful double Tor strap for her birthday like 2 years ago, and she's worn it 3 times. 5 years ago, she wore it like 4 times. That upsets me. I am wearing my Jump Hour watch. I put it on a beautiful purple exotic strap. I think really it looks phenomenal. Yeah, I love this watch.
Yeah, that's great.
It's actually chrome plated, which is certainly a negative, but I don't know. I was thinking about having a white gold case made for it to give it longevity. You know,
it's very cool.
That's what I'm thinking about right now. When you're watching, these are the only things you think about. People are thinking about real things, and I'm like, I wonder if I should make a case for my watch.
Yeah, you never think about real things.
No. All right, let's get into the first question.
Let's do it.
What are the chances Blueberry owners know that they are fake/hype, but they're too invested in them?
A lot of questions in one question, so why don't we go through that?
Yeah.
So what exactly is a Blueberry?
So a Blueberry is it's just a made-up name. It refers to GMT, Rolex GMT Masters, second generation, reference 1675, with full blue bezels. Now, most GMT 1675s either have all black bezels or blue and red bezels, called the Pepsi. The Coke wasn't introduced until years later, and for most of history, we all believe that those were the only 2 bezel variants. But then, not so long ago, I'm saying in the last 20 years, I believe 2002 was when these things started popping up. I think I read that. This appeared. Right? A full blue bezel. Now, because of their rarity, these watches began to fetch astronomical numbers. The bezels themselves, $20,000. I've heard of people spending up to $65,000 on Blueberry GMTs. Why did they come up in 2002 or around that time? Well, many people said that it's because, like many other Rolex things, they're so rare that it wasn't until one very fortunate day that they were kind of uncovered. Lore has it that those watches were made, Blueberry watches, were made specifically for, I believe it's something in the Middle East, I don't know, Saudi Arabian government, or something like that. I don't know if they're necessarily special order, but they were made very particularly for that specific market, almost like yellow gold presidentials on Submariners for the Mexican market, right? The Blueberry, if real, which is debated, would not be the first time that something that has existed for 40 years is uncovered. Right? The Rolex world is very complicated, and things are always being discovered. But recently, and when I say recently, I mean in the last 3 weeks, people have come out and really put the pressure on the market to either prove that the Blueberry is real or admit that it is fake and it is a big farce and tens of millions of dollars have been spent robbing watch geeks of their hard-earned money. Right?
Yep.
So at the moment, this Blueberry market is extremely... I'm getting heart palpitations just thinking about it. Extremely fragile. Many people that I know have asked for their money back from dealers. And the problem is that, dealers aren't necessarily being nefarious or felonious in saying that these are real. I believe that even if the Blueberry is fake, let's say it never existed, let's say it's been fabricated by 5 people, this whole thing,
this whole thing.
I believe that many of the dealers that have sold them genuinely did not know that. They genuinely have used the same, research methods that they have for other Rolex, pieces, and the Blueberry passed that litmus test or passed those tests. Now, it doesn't help that Rolex, the company, the manufacturer, doesn't really chime in, and if they do, it's certainly not consistent. That poses a problem. I have seen documentation directly from Rolex on both sides.
Ooh.
Right?
What the hell?
So I mean, would I buy a Blueberry? No, I'm far too nervous. I'm just a nervous Nancy, right? Right. A pastrami sandwich can make me nervous if it's going to tip. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Part of the research that what you're talking about and what I would assume goes into looking at whether or not something is real is there any confirmation from Rolex? So because now we're realizing there is nothing, you have to assume that when they first got those watches, the first couple dealers that started selling them never got confirmation they were real.
Yeah, but no dealer has ever gotten confirmation anything is real from Rolex. It just doesn't. I mean,
so they don't
not
say either way.
I don't mean that. Rolex will verify if a watch is fake. That's not what I mean. I'm talking about parts. So no, Rolex, while should be the authority, is not really helping here. So again, what does this mean? What does all this mean? There are millions of dollars at stake. What does it mean? The Blueberry is irrelevant in the grand scheme. This means that watches, like every other complicated class out there, are risky. And you don't have to be stolen from to buy something bad. People make mistakes. If certain dealers out there have been selling fake Blueberries, they didn't mean it. Some did.
Right.
Many didn't. Mm-hmm. Right? So at the end of the day, because you cannot buy anyone's competence completely with 100% certainty, you can only do business with people that if the shit hits the fan, they jump. They got you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's who you need to be doing business with.
Yes.
And that's why, even as a watch buyer, forget the fact that I'm a retailer. As a watch buyer, I almost exclusively buy from people that I know if shit hits the fan, it'll be okay for me. They got my back. Yeah. They got my back. Yeah. It's just not worth it to me any other way.
Mm-hmm. What do you think the future is of these watches?
I think that it will probably continue to be, to some level, ambiguous, and I believe that they will continue to be collected. There are people out there that may have been potential Blueberry buyers that are now not, but still, these will continue. They'll never be conclusive evidence one way or the other.
Right.
Here's what we know for sure. Like I said, Blueberries came into the market in the early 2000s, and two, like all other Rolex parts, there are fake examples out there. But the question is, are there real Blueberries out there?
Right.
There are fake Pepsis out there, but of course there are real Pepsis. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting point being made by the critics of the Blueberry. Why isn't there a single piece of documentation out there? Forget Rolex confirming today. Old advertisements. That's really where a lot of watches have become verified by Rolex, but not intentionally. Right. Rolex put a watch in an advertisement in 1964. So even though they won't confirm it now, they confirmed it then.
It's by the archives.
By the archives.
Right.
And there aren't any there are archival or whatever evidence of the existence of Blueberries. The story that the dealers promulgate is true, that these are made in very small quantities. Why would Rolex invest money into advertising them? If they were just made for a very small particular market, it wouldn't make any sense. Question number 2. Should I stay away from micro brands because they will not be around to provide replacement parts?
Interesting question. Micro brands, at least most micro brands we have seen or held or interacted with, use movements that are not made by them. They're made by Sellita or Miyota or Etta, whatever. And those brands make their movements to be extremely serviceable, and there's just hundreds of replacements.
It should also be of note that most watch brands, period, use watches that aren't made by them, period.
Yes, also true. That is most likely the thing you'll need to replace in a watch. Kind of always is the movement. Most micro brands, if not all, use extremely serviceable, very easy to access movements. Yep. So I don't think there's a worry there. If you are worried about something other than the movement, say there's a special dial or a special bezel case, something like that, and you're afraid that if it gets shattered and the company is under or doesn't produce that anymore, you're not going to be able to replace it. to that, I would say there's probably others you can buy. You could buy another one.
Check them out on eBay.
Replace it, check it on eBay. Or, God forbid you have the last one available ever. Micro brands typically fall in a comfortable price range. Typically. If you have a watch, say for $600 and you wear it and you love it and you wear it for 2 years and then you shatter the dial, I think if you enjoyed it, that was money well spent. And I don't think you should, before you even buy it, say, well, what if in 3 years if it breaks and it shatters and I can't find... I think that's too much to even go through and stress about.
It's kind of a hard way to look at life, to worry like that.
Exactly. So I think do not worry about that, because the thing you're going to need to service, probably, or need to replace, is very easy to access.
Yes.
So that is my answer. Don't worry about it.
I agree with you, period.
Next question.
What is your favorite watch currently in the Theo and Harris watch shop?
Ooh, should I go first?
Yeah.
I love the Rolex Explorer that we have.
5504?
5504. We did a really fun, sort of unconventional for us video about this watch, and filming it just totally reinforced my love for it. It's a beautiful watch. It's extremely delicate for how sporty it is, and I think that it's totally versatile and does not have an assigned masculine or feminine quality to it.
No, it doesn't.
Very fluid.
Yeah.
in terms of how watches are. So I love that watch.
Number one, so many watches out there today, they're piggybacking off of history that they are basically unrelated to, Like, for example, right, today, Rolex Explorer is a wonderful watch. I recommend you all consider Rolex Explorers as your next watch. But Rolex Explorers did not make it to Mount Everest. Like, that's like me saying, I worked in the Empire State Building because my great-grandfather did. Like, it's got nothing to do with me. That's just a cool thing. That's just a cool thing that, like, oh yeah, well, I met him. Whereas this watch, 5504, like the 1016 or even more, the 6610, I know a lot of references, by the way. Dude, they actually are so related to, one, the watch that actually went up to Mount Everest on Sir Edmund Hillary's wrist, and two, they were directly a product of that history, meaning Edmund Hillary did what he did, and Rolex said, holy shit, how do we turn this into a thing? These are the watches we're going to make. Yep. So those were the products. Those were that was, it tells a story of how, really, why Rolex is so successful, because they were able to act so quickly and swiftly and effectively and capitalize on this great achievement. Whereas, in contrast, Smith's, the other watch that made it to Mount Everest, did not. Now, speaking of Mount Everest watches, Vacheron. A Vacheron Constantin sold at Phillips this past week for $85,000 without premium, $106,000 with premium, that is probably the first watch in a long, long time that you can say, no, this literal thing, like this thing, not this one right here. This isn't modeled after the one, but this one is part of a very interesting story of exploration. And art in many ways, because Corey Richardson's actually a photographer and everything. Big applause to Phillips for arranging. Not really Vacheron. Vacheron, was obviously the liaison of that. Big applause to Phillips. The Jack Nicklaus watch sold for $1 million. Marlon Brando sold over $2 million. It was an incredible event. It was an incredible auction. I was there for quite a while, but of course, in the middle there, you do tap out because it's a lot of watches, and you want to go have a drink at the Four Seasons. I'll go way simpler. I like that JLC military watch, 1940s. I think it's so beautiful. I had a watch like that in my collection not so long ago. Jeez,
long ago.
3 years ago. Yeah, but not so long ago in the grand scheme.
Of your life.
I love it. I love the sword hands. I love the size. I love the fact that JLC put so much effort into designing a watch that was ultimately supposed to just be a tool, which could break. I love that watch. On the total opposite side of the spectrum, I love the Bauer Mercier. I have one in my collection. I love how it improved upon Piaget's Polo so drastically. I love the way I feel when I wear it with a particular outfit. I just think that it's such a fine piece. And you only asked me for one, but the Diamond Daydreams too.
Why don't you just give here's the whole watch now.
Yeah, I know. And everyone's like, oh, Christian's just trying to sell watches. Well, you ever think, yes, period. But you ever think that like I started a watch shop because I love talking about watches?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, of course, it's all I talk about, ever. Anyway, now we're on camera doing it. Next question.
3
watch collection.
Okay.
Go.
This is really difficult for me, and it would be for everyone or anyone who likes watches. I love the day. Well, I personally love.
When you ask a watch geek a 3-watch collection, they're like, "Oh my god."
I combust.
It's like when you were a kid in school and the teacher, the professor calls on you. You're like, "Please don't call me. Please don't call me."
See, I wasn't like that.
Oh, that was me.
I wanted to be called on.
Oh, absolutely not.
Well, it's like when someone tells you have to have one of anything, and you're like,
Yeah.
I have only worn this watch for 5 years. You tell me I can only have 3 ever. I'm like, I don't know. Here, for real. I love, yellow gold day. Potentially onyx dial. That's a watch that killed me.
We had it.
It killed me. It was so incredible to wear. It's incredible to look at, and it formalizes what could be like the sporty watch in my collection.
Right.
Because I have to have room for my favorite sporty watch.
Which is
a Royal Oak.
Yeah.
I love the Royal Oak, and the reason I made the Data Yellow Gold.
36 mil.
30 what?
Well, which Royal Oak?
38.
There isn't a 38 Royal Oak.
There is one.
There is?
What was it, 39?
Oh, it was like the modern one? Yeah, well, the 39 of it was the 15202.
We're not talking about money right now. So
Yeah.
I want that new one with the honey.
The honey dial, the white gold, the honey.
The 60K, that's the one that I want.
Pour that honey all over
Pour it
me.
all over me. I love that watch. That would be my like sporty watch. That 15202 with the honey dial, white gold. Whew. Hell yeah.
It's got you going.
Yes, and then the onyx. Well, now I have very specific watches. So Day-Date, Royal Oak, and I feel like, I love my pull router. We all know I love my pull router. But in that scenario, I could see not having the pull router and doing something like a funky, fun, like cool swatch or like a tank if I wanted to go on the slimmer, more feminine.
Swatches are awesome. I mean, of course, so are tanks. I mean,
yeah. So I don't know what that third spot would be, but I know that those two I would just wear the out of.
Yeah.
Wear the out of the other two. And then just for something fun or for summer that's lighter. I don't know.
Yeah.
I could just do those two. And then I got the pull router.
Yeah. There you go.
But it is very similar to the day. No, it's not. It's totally different.
Not.
Well, they're both yellow. Well, doesn't matter. What's yours? Let's hear the yours. I feel like I'm gonna get hate for this.
Just know it. No.
I feel like everyone's gonna be like, but what about? And I'm like, shit.
No.
Wait, no, there isn't. You keep thinking there is another watch that
Stop.
that I love.
It's okay.
It's not.
You answered the question.
I want that almost lambda. Okay.
Watches.
It's really stressful. I know.
Stop.
Cartier Crash. The new Royal Oak honey, yellow gold dated with onyx style, Cartier Crash.
That's a hell of a...
That's a collection. That's it. I'm out. Goodbye. Your turn.
Well, I would do a Datejust. 1601. I like the white gold bezel, but 1603, 1600, they're all phenomenal. Why? Versatile. For me, that's about as sporty as I would get in a 3-watch collection. It's just like this, like the Datejust I wore this morning. It's just sporty enough for me. Just casual enough. I would absolutely do a Cartier. I don't know if I would do a Cintre or if I would do a Tank Louis. And then I would do either something gaudy, like a Day-Date, but then I have a Datejust, so it's a little bit repetitive. Or I would go hot horology, which is probably where I would go.
Okay. You gotta do the Darth.
No. See, I love the Darth. I love it. But the 1815 chronograph, whether in white gold or in rose, is a watch to die for. I feel so passionately about this watch. I want that watch so badly. And I'm gonna buy it. Like,
sure.
There's no doubt. It's just a matter. Okay, when do I buy it? Like, it's a lot of money, so that's ridiculous. And number two, do you need a celebration to do? Well, it is, but you need a lot of money.
Celebration.
Two, do you need to be celebrating something, or is the day you buy that watch a celebration in and of itself? Do you need to at the dinner? Like, you know what I mean? Like, do you need to make a party out of it?
Do I need to spend more money?
No, that's not the point. What's the extra $500 after you spend $40,000?
Yes.
But the point is, while we're just talking about this ideal situation, that would be a watch that would make it on my list.
I have a great celebration for you to commemorate.
What?
5 years of theoandharris.
You put me on the spot? 5 years. Should I buy a watch to celebrate 5 years of Theo and Harris? Theo and
Yes!
Harris turns 5 in February. Should I buy a watch to celebrate that? Should I buy 2 watches and engrave
Should
them
we
both
just
with a
make a watch
5
and
in a
have other people
circle?
buy that?
All right, next question. Why buy a watch strap for $169, which that person quoted our direct price for our watch straps, when I can buy a strap for $90 that looks the same?
Longevity, durability.
Yeah.
Quality.
It comes down to this, right? Yes, there are $90 straps that look, very similar from a distance, the same as our Type 1, as our Quint, and things like that. The reality is, most people, if I asked John Rousseau, who manufactured our straps, why would you do this? They would answer the creative end. They would say, well, the craftsmanship, or they're French. They say, the craftsmanship. The craftsmanship, the fact that all of our artisans need to actually train in France, the fact that the hides we use are the best hides in the world. Right? Mm-hmm. Now, back to American, consumerism, capitalism, you say, right, but what does that do for me?
Exactly.
I get it. So you guys do real good. Why does that help me? Right. And the answer is longevity, right? All of those things, if you don't actually appreciate them for what they are, let's say you don't, ultimately, they last so much longer. It's not even funny. Right. My Type 1 strap is 3.5 years old. It looks like it was opened up 2 days ago. Your Sark strap
I've worn it for years, and it is beautifully intact.
Yes, that's why. $90 straps, for the most part, I've never seen one that isn't. They're very plasticky, they're very cheap. Yes, they may look great for 6 months, and still not even that great compared. But being fair, they look great dollar for dollar for the first 6 months, and then they don't, right? And then even if you keep it, because it's functional, still does work, you don't have that same richness. Mm-hmm. You bought that strap because it looked like a nice one, and now it's not. Yep. So why do that? That's right. And I look at that with everything. Of course, that becomes crazy. We talk about when is the budget over? For everyone, it's different. People have different priorities. But it comes to everything. It's the same thing with sport coats. It's the same thing with shoes. The same thing with pants. Same thing with shirts. Things that are hard to make, you really can't buy cheap and expect to. You see what I mean?
Yeah, it's last.
It's very hard.
Right.
Shirts or jackets, sport coats are harder to construct than pants, than trousers. My trousers are much more affordable than my sport jackets, because sport jackets are an incredibly difficult thing to construct. So if you want to buy something that's difficult to make, you kind of have to buy the good version. Otherwise, you're just going to be ultimately disappointed. Yep. Whereas things that are easier, that's just fine. You see what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's why I've always said, I'd rather own a $150 swatch than a $1,700 Rolex. Why? Because a $1,700 Rolex, it's a really cheap version of a good thing. It's not going to work. It's just not. Yeah. Buy the $200 swatch, or buy the $900 Tissot. That's just how I spend my money. Just buy a great version of the cheaper thing.
Next question: where is a good place to check out the Grand Seiko line?
Couple of locations. One, we were out in LA. We did a whole video of their premiere for their Godzilla in LA. That was phenomenal.
That's really cool.
They do have a boutique on Rodeo Drive. They have a boutique in Midtown Manhattan as well. They are also available through retailers. London Jewelers is our retail partner. They carry a beautiful collection of Grand Seiko at the Manhasset boutique. So if you're on Long Island, London Jewelers at Manhasset. But again, check out the map. Put the link in the description. You can. There's a link for Grand Seiko that'll tell you where to buy a Grand Seiko. Anyway, that question is absolutely a product of how hot we are on that brand right now.
Really turned a corner.
You didn't. I did.
Yes, I always liked them. I was always behind them.
Yes.
But not like you didn't like them. I think you were just skeptical at first, or you just didn't really know the brand.
No, I think I knew a little bit. I was just more angered by the marketing. I was angered by the fact that they have all these assets in the products they produce, and that they weren't really, in my opinion, doing a great job communicating that message. Yeah. And as a marketer, all I want to do is I beg to market for people. I think it's so much fun. So for me, I looked at it as a missed opportunity for the past 4 years, and now that I actually work with Grand Seiko, there's going to be incredible content coming your way on their behalf, and it's going to be so freaking exciting.
So good. So good.
Now next, what is your most Italian habit?
Well, I'm not Italian, so my most Italian habit is interacting 90% with Italian people. Him and his mother and father and sister and grandpa. And that's 90% of the people I see on the daily basis.
No, come on. What's my most Italian habit? I yell ma a lot. Ma! You know?
You do that. That's more like ironic though, I think. The thing you actually do whenever you're cooking.
And I love to cook.
And it's always Italian food. That's not the point.
What am I gonna make?
You always have to be listening to the Goodfellas soundtrack. And just, what's the one that you belt? No.
I don't remember.
Sometime. Anyways, Stardust. That's great.
I think I do. My idea of blowing off steam is, maybe most often, is putting on some music, putting some olive oil on the stove, a little salt, a little pepper, and just improvising from there. Like whether we do like a cacio e pepe, or whether we do pasta alla gricia or matriciana, or if we just take pizzaiolo,
that's the best.
That's
we should have an event where you just cook for everybody.
I would really like to do that. I'm really into that. If you guys would like to do an event where I serve you,
it's a small group.
Like I make dinner.
That would be really cool.
And it'll be better than a lot of restaurants, but way worse than good restaurants. You know what I mean? Like
fun.
It'll be a blast. Like
great wine. Rolly will pick the wine.
Oh, it'll be phenomenal wine.
Oh, that's fun. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Let us know if you want to do it.
Anna loves marketing ideas that cost me a fortune.
Exactly, because I don't pay for it.
You're right.
Comment down below if you want it.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. That was a long episode.
Yeah,
thank you for being a sport. And like this video if you liked it, and if you love watches, go ahead and subscribe. Check out the Theo and Harris watch shop if you have any interest at all in indulging in some watch porn. Thanks again for watching.
Look at that one.
Ready?
Did it.
Set.
You give me no satisfaction.
It's good for bloopers.
Yeah. What's up, watching? Wait, I like
Stop looking at yourself. Watch accessories and
microphones. This has two answers, I think. I think start over. This is the stupidest thing I said. Start over.
You look like The Rock.
I don't care. I have longer hair than The
only
Rock.
person that wears necklaces outside of their shirt is Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
And me.
Nope, just Dwayne The Rock Johnson. If you liked it,
subscribe to our channel.
I was saying that.
Subscribe if you like watches.
If you $13,000, literally doubling the retail price of the watch. Hulk Submariners watches that retail a hair over $9,000 were trading, I think, above $17,000, and Batman the same. Now, this inflated market was not